Who's going first?
I'll go first if that's okay.
Oh, I would love you to go first. Yes.
Okay. And Karen, the nurses in that hospital being so incredibly wonderful are a mirror of yourself. And that is what we see, isn't it? When we keep healing our minds and moving more into the space of our true self, which is love, that's reflected in all the people around us. And we feel that on ACIM Gather, and we feel it in every other aspect of our lives too. I think we're on lesson 88, right? Because I started with 87 and went, wait a minute, I think we're one beyond that. So I'll start with Ken's journey through the workbook, lesson 88, which is a review of lessons 75 and 76. Lesson 75, the light has come. Ken says, the light has come because the light has always been in our minds. This is reflected in the first sentence. In choosing salvation rather than attack, I merely choose to recognize what is already there. And what I've said so many times that hooked me on this Course in Miracles is lesson 188, which is enlightenment is but a recognition, not a change at all. And that gave me the most hope of anything I had ever read, anything. And I said, oh my gosh, it's possible for me too. Because prior to that, I had felt like I can't meditate. I can't burn off all my karma. I had been to a seminar with Ram Dass where he talked about the cycle of birth and death being thousands and thousands of lifetimes. And I'm going, oh, well, just give up now. This isn't going to work. And so recognizing that in the holy instant that the Course in Miracles talks about, we're home right then, right now. I should say now, because there's no past. Right now, we are home. And when we open to that idea and recognize it, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, the light has come right now. And I'm here right now. Oh, thank you, God. Like Martin Luther King, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And then it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And I was listening to Joe Dispenza the other day talking about how we have 60,000 thoughts a day. And so what happens is when we even have 1% of those thoughts become truth-oriented thoughts, like 6,000 thoughts a day of, oh, I am the light, or the light is in me, or I am the Holy Son of God himself. 6,000 more thoughts a day that we're not unconsciously ruminating on the past and our personal history and our stories and all of that. Those 6,000 thoughts, which is just 1%, feels phenomenal. Feels phenomenal. So this is just so cool. We're so blessed. So Ken says, that is why the light has come. The light of the atonement is in our minds, but when we choose it, we experience it as coming to us. In truth, however, we have come to it. We left the light when we chose the ego's darkness, and now we have returned. Coming to the light is salvation, just as leaving it constituted the first attack, mirrored in the specific attacks within our lives that are merely the shadowy fragments of the original thought. So all the sin, guilt, and fear, all of our past, all of our ruined relationships and our ruined jobs and our ruined health and all of that, those are the shadowy fragments of the original thought of separation, and we don't need them anymore. And something that occurred to me when you were talking, Karen, was when you say it takes about 3 months, and that would be the typical normal medical idea. One of my friends is really famous for the idea of saying, could you entertain the possibility that it might not take that long, that you might heal faster than you think you can? Could you just entertain that possibility? Because outside of time and space, there is no 3 months. There is only wholeness right here, right now. So could you entertain the possibility? And if it takes 3 months, okay, no problem. But in truth, you are whole right here, right now. And we know that. We know that. And when we think of that, at least when I think of that, I feel happy. I feel light. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm already home. Oh, that's right. I don't have to feel this background heaviness that I've felt my entire life. And or that emptiness, like, oh, I'll never make it. Maybe other people will, but I might make it part of the way, but certainly not all of the way because, well, I'm just not wired for that. I'm just not built for that. And yet we all are, because we are all mind. We're not these bodies that we have wired to be depressed and anxious and sick and separated and guilty and sad and whatever else happens to be our routine thoughts and character temperament. We're not those. We have surpassed those just in this holy instant. We've surpassed them by going, what if? What if I could live as my Christ self right now? Would Jesus say it's going to take you 3 months to get better? I don't think so. Jesus would say, you're whole now. and no pressure on that, Karen. I don't expect you to stand up and walk out of that hospital today or anything, but just entertaining the thought of, what if I could just be completely free right here, right now? Because I'm sure we've all experienced in meditation that when we take our focus, our mind off of the body, we're not in pain anymore. And then we open our eyes and get back to our normal, quote unquote, life, and we're all creaky and pain in pain. I know that I am. And I've been entertaining this thought of this body is aging, this body is falling apart. Every week I get more wrinkles, and every week I get more creaks, and it's like, stop. I don't want to entertain those thoughts. And whether or not it's going on, if I focus on, I am spirit, I am life, I am the radiant light of God, the light has come, the light is in me, I sure feel a whole lot better, and I'm not focusing on all of my aches and pains. So that's up for me, and I will turn it over to Dove.
Wow. Okay. That was so beautiful, clear, and so true. I was just helping out. Joni called me this morning at Maureen's and asked if I could sit in because the person wasn't there who was the teacher. And we were on review 6 called What is the Christ? Find on page 431. And it's the same thing that you're saying, Laurie. You use the word I am spirit. I am the Christ is the exact same thing. When I'm the Christ, I am whole and perfect and complete. There's no I thought in it. There's no thought of, oh, I got to do this. I should have done that. There's no I in I am the Christ. That's when I am perfect, whole, and complete and innocent. I need nothing. I'm not needy. I'm not. There's nothing that I lack. I am whole and complete. In the ego thought system, there's always something that you got to do. So when you wake up in the morning, oh my God, I got to do this. And talking about Dove now, oh, let's see, today is Thursday, got to do this, this, and this. So the ego has a whole list of things for you to do, knowing that you always have more to do. Christ or spirit need do nothing. I need do nothing. That's how true empathy actually. If you look at true empathy, chapter 16 in the introduction, he goes through the first page and you don't know what empathy is. You think that you have to side with somebody, join with somebody. No, none of that is true. The Holy Spirit knows what true empathy is. Let him do his work. You don't know. And then at the top of the next page, it says, your only thing is I need do nothing except not to interfere. Who am I interfering with? I'm interfering with empathizing for my little small self, thinking that if I don't do this, I'm going to remain small. No, our magnitude needs nothing. Our magnitude needs nothing. That's why there's a whole section called littleness versus magnitude. I think of myself as little because I'm still thinking through the ego's thought system. I'm asked to say, I do not know what anything is for. Turn it over to the Holy Spirit who lives in my right mind. And as I step aside, I can move from my wrong-mindedness to my right-mindedness, but just allowing Holy Spirit to step forward. Stepping forward literally means I am one with God. I am one with Spirit. I am one. Over to you, Sharon. Thank you.
Thanks, Dub. Thanks, Lori. Okay, so this salvation, another word for salvation is awakening, right? It's a decision made already. You know, the atonement is the light in our minds that's absolutely unfolding through the one mind, right? So within the dream, Ken says, we are free to believe we can choose attack and grievances. In reality, however, we choose nothing because the ego thought system is non-existent. This reflects the fundamental idea that we believe we have the power to choose illusions, but the only meaningful choice open to us is undoing the belief in the illusions that never were. And, you know, the Course in Miracles it's a mind training. So it takes our mind and it just gets the thoughts, at least for this mind, to relax, right? And eventually what I'm seeing in the mind is more of a balanced ego. And there is really no ego, but thought and belief and all that stuff can still rise up. And of course, I get caught in it. That's just the way that, you know, this is happening. But when I do get caught in it, doesn't mean anything. No. Because enlightenment has always really been here. You know, it's just the awareness of love's presence. And so to be enlightened, we all are. So it's kind of interesting when we think of like some of the things that we've wanted to get on the spiritual path. And what I've realized is the ego wants it to be special for itself. It wants it to be important. It wants to win. It wants to be better. You know, it has all the beliefs that, you know, and right-mindedness sees that nothing happened. So who are you getting better? Who are you? There's no one better than you because there's no you. There's only the infinite self, right? So, you know, the dreams that of scraps of thoughts that are flying around my mind, they're really nothing. They're meaningless. And the one thing that the mind has been left to do right now is turn on laughter because it's hysterical to believe that I 100% thought this was real, right? And every week, I guess it should say, since I got back to the course, which is probably maybe a year now, I don't even know. It seems as though it's just seeing through it all and realizing that there's nothing here but the infinite self. And everything that I'm dreaming about are just thoughts in my mind about Sharon, right? It's not about Dove and it's not about Lori. If I don't like something out there, I'm still not looking at my own mind. Now, I will say that, you know, sometimes I do feel that some beings are more arrogant. But again, what am I doing? I'm believing in a thought process that doesn't exist. So what is that? That's just a complete distraction by ego. And ego gets a little feisty when you start to really see through this dream and realize that not only was it an insane dream, but it's not real. And there's no way that you can't be enlightened. So we set on a journey to believe all the teachers and what they're saying when everything is just part of the dream, right? We're already in heaven. We've not left. So I love when the Course says the light has come. I can but choose the light, for it has no alternative. None. Nada. We are in the light. The concepts we're looking at are just concepts. So, you know, how does these little shifts influence my life as Sharon? Well, it makes it have a lot of space, lightening up. I'm much lighter about things. I don't feel drawn to the drama that I used to. And by the way, I still do things like watch movies and and have preferences on politicians. But what does that mean? It's all meaningless because there's an interpreter, which is ego, in my mind that is telling me what I believe and what I don't believe. And none of it's true. None of it's true. But the distractor is the ego, and it will continue to do that. And when I do that, I'm saying, oh, I'll just enjoy this show now. And I do. Why not? Because who I am the I am. There's nothing that happened that could really hurt me, not the me with the capital M. So, when we choose the light, we recognize that the darkness was never there. Now, that's a really good one. It was never there. Well, how could it be there? If all the sons of God don't have my thoughts, then nothing happened because we are interconnected. There's no separation in the Son of God, right? In our deluded dream, we believed in the darkness of separation and attack. However, when we choose to take Jesus's hand and walk the path that awakens from the dream, the darkness is gone, and we happily realize it was not even there. It's just like this, these mirrors, smoke screens of blocking the light. And that's why the grievances, because it's a concept of grievance, will block the light. And then when we put a grievance out there, our energy is so powerful that it blocks the very thing that we want, which is total peace and joy, right? So it's like, one of the things he says here are 3 applications highlight this choice. This cannot show me darkness, for the light has come. The light in you is all that I would see. Lori, Dove, Lynn, I would see in this only what is there. That is really the attention. Just being with the attention, being with the awareness of love. Means, that is the most powerful thing that we can experience because it's really authentic love. It's not love, I love you, but it's not personal. It's authentic because it's the one mind, one sun, one being sharing truth. And I am grateful for this process. I'm actually grateful that I even fell into this because you see, Jesus or God or whatever you want to call the holy God, the holy self, or just the holy self, doesn't pick favorites here. How could it? It's all sameness. So, but ego would say, well, why didn't I wake up this lifetime? Oh, I want to wake up. There is no waking up. That's the whole point. When you get to a place where you realize that you're not in form, that you're a formless being, believing and dreaming that this really happened. And I'll be 69 and I'll be 70 on my next birthday. Just feel that. It's already taking me into a concept and believing that there is another moment that I can be in. And these are all just habits. They're just habits. And letting go of the habit just for today is all I need to do, or for now. But love is the only energy that will ever heal any of us. And it's not personal. It's impersonal love. It's the love of God. And I do have an idea that when we do transition, that the love is so powerful. Just by what I've read, it's very different maybe from this realm because it's the love of total oneness. However, the excitement of just being here right now and listening, this morning I was listening to the Course because, as I dropped the belief on my body, the words in the Course are absolutely like a high vibration. Like you can just feel like that you are being held in the arms of love. Over to you, Laura.
Yes, Sharon, the words are such a high vibration. My course group was considering studying a book about the Course, which can sometimes be helpful. But I was thinking, oh, I don't want to do that because I like reading the Course itself because it's pure poetry. And just like reading a beautiful poem, every time you read it, it just gets deeper and more expansive. And also what you were reading in the workbook lesson, that one, the light in you is all that I would see, name of person. And I've noticed that when I've done that, I'll say, I only see the Christ in you. And then immediately ego would jump in and be like, so why aren't you being the Christ? You stupid person, you. And so I see the Christ in you. And then in a nanosecond, the ego jumps in and wants to co-opt that. And also what you were saying, Dove, about the lesson you were doing with Maureen's group, that I am the Christ, I am that higher self, I am that light. And also the ego can jump in there, because I've noticed in the past is it would feel like, oh, I'm Lori and I am so wonderful in my spiritual journey that I am actually being the Christ. Which again is the ego taking over and acting like it's the Christ rather than actually being the Christ. And it can be really subtle. It can just jump right in there and you don't even notice it. And then you go, oh, well, that's hardly the Christ when the ego is taking credit for it. and Dove, as you're saying, the ego is arrogant. What you put on the board, the ego is arrogant. It sees others as arrogant, and you've got to laugh, which I am. And the laughter comes naturally when you're really in that space. I find that I'm laughing, and if I'm not laughing, there's something wrong. And I haven't been laughing for a couple months that much. And I'm so grateful to be back to the laughing. And yes, I'm always speaking about myself. You idiot person who aren't being the Christ. Who am I speaking about? Speaking about yo. Continuing to read Ken's journey through the workbook, he says, confronted by the ego's perceptions of specialness, and also, good morning, Cindy. Confronted by the ego's perceptions of specialness, the darkened world of guilt, judgment, hate, punishment, and fear, we go quickly to Jesus that we may see the situation differently. His vision, all people calling for love or expressing it, all people sharing in the ego's insanity of hate and the Holy Spirit's sanity of forgiveness, reflects heaven's light. This light, born of our inherent sameness as God's Son, we now wish to see in others, for it is what we wish to see in ourselves. I have to tell you this wonderful story that happened last week, this wonderful sign. I had been approached by a person at my Unity Church here in Traverse City, Michigan, about going to see Joe Dispenza in Tennessee in September. And my first thought was, I really like Joe Dispenza's work, but I had seen a video where it was almost like one of these, pump up the music, rock star kind of, yeah, go, 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 go. And I'm like, oh no, I don't like the circus. I'm not into all that. And so I told her, no, I don't really want to go to Joe Dispenza. I just, no thanks. I do like him and his work, but not that type of circus event. So then there was an email group that I'm on through my Interfaith Center in Ann Arbor. And someone sent a Gaia presentation about reinventing yourself. And one of the speakers was Joe Dispenza. And he just said, you might want to take a look at it. It was up free for a couple days. So I played it, and it wasn't anything that I hadn't played before. Joe Dispenza, I've been listening to him for almost 20 years now, as most of us have. He's absolutely wonderful. And he was so humble in the presentation. And I had actually met him back in 2007. My friend and I were doing a presentation, and we went out to Washington and we interviewed him and made a video and then used it in our presentation series. And at that time, I really liked him and thought he was really humble, and he was great, and he still is. And when he was talking about how far he's come in terms of all the research that he's done with his advanced seminars, where he shows the changes in the brain and the changes in our genes, with the epigenetics through these shared meditations. Anyway, I'm just looking at that and going, this sounds pretty cool. Like maybe it's not just all rock star, rah rah, sis boom bah kind of motivation stuff. So I thought, I think I want to go. So I texted my friend and said, I am interested now. Are you still going? She says, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, later that day, I called my other girlfriend that I haven't talked to in a couple months. And she's a very close friend of mine. We're very connected. And last couple of weeks, we'd been wanting to talk to each other, but it hadn't worked. So I called her and I said, guess what? I'm going to go see Joe Dispenza in September. And then she proceeds to tell me that a couple of weeks ago, her husband had said, you're turning 60 this year. Let's do something special. What do you want? She goes, I don't know. She went on a trip for her 50th. And she says, I don't want a car. I don't want diamonds. I don't want it. She goes, I want to go see Joe Dispenza. And she asked her husband to go. He doesn't want to go. She asked her son to go. No, he doesn't want to go. She asked her two brothers to go. They didn't want to go. And she says, I'm going with you to Joe Dispenza. And Joe Dispenza is all about getting a sign from the universe that you're on the right track. And the day we happened to be talking was Joe Dispenza's birthday. And so here we are now going to go to this seminar because I realized that I've been saying this for a couple of years. I don't have a bucket list. I've been there, done that with things in the world. But my only thing on my list is to show up every morning as the Christ, as the joy, and see what shows up, see what kind of love I can give and what love comes back. And that does happen. But I was starting to feel like, my body's falling apart. I don't even really want to be here. As soon as my grandkids get in school, I really don't know. They're not going to be interested in me. So I really don't know what kind of purpose. Really, seriously, what? And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Those are all ego thoughts. As long as this body's here, I want to continue to be vibrant and joyful and loving. And so that day I bought Joe's package of the preliminary coursework that you need to do, which actually comes free when you sign up for the seminar. But I decided, nope, I want to start now. I want to keep this. I want to keep reviewing this. And what a difference in terms of like the life that I feel like when I read this, the light has come. When I would have read this even like a month ago, where I was at then was like, yeah, the light has come. Yeah, I'm peaceful. I'm so grateful for the light. Yeah, I am. But now it's like, yes, I am the light. I am the light. And I don't have to live this kind of, the light has come. I just can't wait until this body drops so that I'm really totally in the light. And I'll just kind of, I'm going to be peaceful and I'm going to be content and happy. And actually, lots of good stuff, but not where it's like, I'm the whole light, the full vibrant light. And it's like, you know what? I don't have to live with this background ego stuff that may be quieter than it used to be, but it's still there. And you know what? I don't need it. I don't need it and I don't want it. And I know the possibilities now of transformation, total transformation. And the funny thing is that I've been semi doing Joe's work for, almost 20 years. I've been doing the course diligently, but there was still that ego hold on me that, you're only going to get so far. Maybe that's for those people, the expansiveness is for other people, not for you. You're going to have it, but just to a point. And you can just be satisfied with your life. And it's like, wow, that's an ego thought. So anyway, I'm going to turn this back over to you, Dove. Thanks.
Okay, that was terrific. Thank you so much, Lori. I love the way that you worked all the way to I am the Christ and I'm going to enjoy being the Christ. And I was just, in fact, I just put up earlier, I'll put it up again in the chat. This illustration that says, trust yourself. You have survived a lot and you will survive whatever is coming. So trust, which again is always the biggie. I just don't trust, so I got to do in order to survive. No, no, just trust. You will always survive whatever is coming. That's because it's really a dream. That's because it's really a dream. So I posted this both on ACIM Gather for Course of Miracles and Open Minds. Uh, and it comes with a message from Robert Adams. And those people who know Robert Adams, he's basically a student of Ramana Maharshi. And he takes an excerpt from his book. The name of his book is Do Not Meditate on the I Thought, which obviously is the ego thought. And I just want to read a portion of what he says because it kind of reminds me of what you were talking about, Laurie. You know, I'm the Christ, enjoy it. So he says, you started early in the morning. As soon as you open your eyes, you observe yourself becoming worldly, like I was talking about it here earlier. Oh, I got this to do, I got that to do, I got a to-do list. Said, and you realize that just a few moments ago, you were not cognizant of the world at all. Where were you? And in the space between sleeping and awakening, you had an abounding peace. Think about that. In that space, as soon as you opened your eyes, before you became cognizant of the world, there is a tremendous peace and joy. It only lasts for a few seconds. The reason it only lasts for a few seconds is because the I takes you over. Woo! In other words, the ego takes you over. The I thought begins to rise from your heart center, and as it begins to rise, you become more and more aware of your body, your worldly affairs, and the world around you. It finally rises to the brain. At the same time, you say, I'm late for work. Whoop, today is Thursday. I gotta be on ACIM Gather. I got a Zoom session. No, none of that is real. It is a dream. We are dreaming this thing, and we try to make a big thing out of our dream because, after all, it's my dream, right? You know, please don't interfere in my dream. So the arrogance of the ego definitely is always there. You know, mine, me, myself, me, my, mine, myself. All those M words, you know. So the arrogance of the ego, you know, projects out and sees others. Oh man, look at them. You know, they think that they're God. You know, I mean, you know, who 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 is it that's taking over God's place? You know, he's so arrogant. But projection makes this entire dream seem real. I'm talking about now my own projections. Like uh last evening, somebody approached me from the Philippines and says, I'm not going to ask you for money. I just need help. I guess you knew the right thing to say to me. I said, okay, what's going on? Tell me. I mean, after all, I'm here only to be truly helpful, right? So she says, I can't get over it. My three sons all died in a fire. My three sons all died in a fire. Uh-huh. And she says, I want to kill myself. I don't want to live anymore. So I spent like an hour, half hour, I don't know, time flies, talking to her about that her sons are perfectly safe and they just want her to be happy. And if she really truly loved them, she should be loving herself now, because love is eternal. You know, give it all the things that Dove can come up with to help somebody who says, I want to kill myself. So then she says something I didn't expect. She says, I, I want to buy your book. I said, which books are, well, the one, and I didn't know that she knew I had a book, but so Dove's figures, well, maybe I'll send her a book, but the last time I tried to send somebody something, actually it was who was it? It was Audrey, and she lives in Canada. And when I went to the post office, they wanted $24 just for the shipping. And I realized that it's probably better if I can ask her to find a bookstore, and I will send her the money. And probably the book would cost almost nothing in the Philippines, really, basically. I don't know. So I'll send her the money. And one thing got into another, and all she was really interested in was send me the money, and I was sending her much more money than the book cost, of course. And then when I finally sent it, she says it didn't arrive because you have to send more. Oh, that's a good word, more, because they have a system there that it's got to be so much. But I was way over the minimum limit, and you still had to send more because they weren't going to give it to her. They're going to hold it. And I realized I was getting upset over nothing after I just started out. What is there to be upset about, right? You got to laugh. So I took it seriously. And I'm saying to myself, why are you taking this so seriously, Dove? And I realized that if someone is lying to you, you take it seriously. And then I realized, hey, listen, Dove, isn't it you that came up with the idea that in your belief system, there's a big lie? So what you're doing, you don't like to see projected into others, and that's why you get upset. Well, why are you getting upset over nothing? You're taking it seriously. Oh my God, you gotta laugh. And with that, I'll turn it back on over to you, Sharon.
I love that story. I love it. That's such that's just a funny story because, as people, at least for me, and I think for all of us, really, we want to be good people. But, it is confusing because when you really see that you fall back into the dream, believing you're this person and believing you want to be a holy ego, right? And there is nothing here but holiness. That's what we have to really get. The persona is nothing. But it does feel good when we're nice. It does. And I was contemplating yesterday love. And of course, the love that we get as the one son is very different. It's not emotional love. It's just an isness. It just is. It's being present in presence. But to fall down the rabbit hole at least a couple times a day, you have to laugh because you're still the son of God. You can't change that. You can't change who you really are. You can't become this person. When this body leaves and transitions, it's not going to do anything. It's not a body. And, a lot of times, we think, well, we go on, and I don't know what happens. See, and I have now decided to be comfortable with that. I don't know. The only part of us that doesn't want to be comfortable is the ego. Why? Because the ego knows, and that is the problem. So here, Ken's talking about I'm under no laws but God's, and really that's saying there's only God's will here. But you can think about if the thinking mind gets in there saying, God must not like me because look what happened today. I'm under no, because God's picking nothing in this dream, really, even the awakening is being orchestrated by the highest good. So let's say a political figure wins that I don't want. And then the ego comes in and says, this is what's going to happen. And we're all going to blah, 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 and have no social security and know this and know that. And that is just a story, right? But it's a story that the ego has fun with because the ego loves to pick who's better and who's loved more. And it's all just story. So when a being wakes, it goes to an awakening and they become teachers and all that other stuff. This is all being picked by the one as a play of the atonement. And the atonement is light. And this light is going through the one mind. And when we hold light for our sisters and brothers, we're holding it for ourselves because we only see pretty much what we are either extending or projecting. And that's it. It's the consciousness and the totality of who we really are that we're afraid of. And I shouldn't say you or you or you, but this mind, what I got to see in the last week was how being in the present moment, the ego just distracts itself, but it's talking to itself, right? Because I'm the witness. So in the present moment, you can see that the discomfort of the ego, oh, I don't want love. God knows that would feel too good. And that's something I remember I was drawn to the course by Marianne Williamson when she was speaking about that we're not afraid of anything but the power we have. And she was speaking about the one sun, the one mind, the oneness. But that's what we're already in power. This is just a play. So now it's time to take the power back. Just be who you really are. And if you want to be in the play for a while, enjoy it. But understand that the character is completely meaningless, right? So Ken says here, there's no will but God's. All the laws we believe govern our lives, physically and psychologically, have effects only because we choose to be an ego. And that's okay. Ken always will say, be honest here. You want to be separate. It's okay. But admit it. And that's true. At times I am so okay, Cliff and I like to watch different series, but we like this show, This Is Us. And it's just a sweet series. We started watching it because we had missed some of the other sessions. And yeah, the ego goes chatting away about, how beautiful the family is and because the ego will want to turn this world into heaven. It can't be. It's duality. Can't be. But you can enjoy yourself. There's nothing, I'm going to say this. The reason I'm so comfortable in ACIM Gather is because it's not a serious place. And that's a gift that this course gives us. If we take anything seriously, now certainly, when I think about Karen today having that operation, that's, I want, just like everyone else, for her to heal and feel good. And that's just love. However, I know now that she's already saved. She didn't leave God. She's just a little figure like Sharon, just a puppet that's moving around, So he says, therefore, choosing to be a separated individual and placing ourselves under the ego's divine guidance, we must subscribe to its laws. And then he says, on the other hand, when we choose Jesus as our teacher and raise ourselves above the battleground outside the dream, the laws of the world reflecting the laws of wrong mind have no power. Therein lies our freedom. So do we have preferences? Well, I do. I still have preferences. I have preferences with what I eat. Do I take magic? Absolutely. What difference does it make? You're already home and you're not that anyway. You could never have been that. It does seem in perception that we've been here a long time. I've known Dove since 2008, blah, 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 but it's only happening now. And we have this because of the incredible power of our mind that we could really have an imagination that is so filled up with this beautiful play that we're in. And it is beautiful when you don't take it seriously. And that is the answer. So God's laws basically are, I want thy will to be right. It's only thy will. I have a friend that, child transitioned before her. And we talk about the fact that, he's the lucky one. She wasn't, but he is. Who needs to be here? We're only looking at our concepts all day long. That's all we're doing. And our images. But I will say that I am more than grateful that this process came into my life, because I do feel it's a lottery for freedom. And when I get hurt or when I'm upset, so what? That's just my mind playing a trick on me, because I am certainly the same as everybody else, right? And yes, temptation is in this process, but see, temptation could be something you laugh at if you don't take it seriously. We're not being tested here. We're already home. And with that, Laurie, take over now. Thanks.
Thank you, Sharon. With your friend whose child transitioned before her, I think we talked to her, didn't we? When
Yes,
that was
that's
her.
her. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And she's really doing her work, and she's doing really well. And the thought about that, for every mother, they want their child to be okay. And actually, you're right. That child is more okay than we are, because the child doesn't have to deal with all the difficulties that duality in form creates. So yeah, she's doing well. And I noticed the ego in me creates all kinds of terrible scenarios with my daughter and my grandkids, like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And
Yeah.
they're very frightening. And I just, go, oh, that's an ego thought. I'm not going to entertain that. But I really appreciate what you both were saying about enjoying being the Christ. And Dove, you mentioned that. Enjoy being the Christ. And yes, we are allowed. I'm entitled to miracles. What does that mean? I'm entitled to freedom of my mind. I'm entitled to the joy, peace, and love that the Course says that I am, not just part of the way, but all of the way. And so seeing that part of me that I didn't really see, well, I didn't have the opportunity to heal until this person broke up with me, because I realized after that happened that I was going to not fall into the, I'll be happier if I have a really good relationship. And of course, we know that's a special relationship. That's an idol. But even with the, okay, I'll be happier, even if I just have a decent relationship. It doesn't have to be perfect anymore. I've improved that way. But still, the thought of, if I don't have a relationship, somehow I'm empty. And then I would say, but you know what? That's like saying you shouldn't eat or you shouldn't drink, because we are wired to mate. Because we are wired to mate. That's a natural human thing. And that is the body, that is the ego. And yet that sense of heaviness, oh, if I don't, well, I know I can be fine, because I've been fine for years without a relationship, but still that sense of heaviness. And after that person broke up with me, it was like, you know what? I'm done with that. I am just done with that background thought that I'm looking for a relationship, or I'm heavy without one, or I know I can survive without one, but I really want one. All of those thoughts around that were just like the elevator music in the background. It's like, no. So as I've been doing the meditations this week, Joe Dispenza says, okay, just pick one emotion that you're going to bring and put on the altar. And so I've put that one on the altar with the heaviness, that sense of emptiness that we all have, because we're not connected to God. It's not even about a relationship here. It's never about whatever we're looking for here. And we know that as Course students, it's always about our connection with God in this now moment. And so getting to that place of, I am entitled to feel the light, to be the light all the way, not 90%. And I went through a psychological seminar, training seminar many, many years ago. And he talked about back then there was the scripts people live, Eric Byrne, games people play, transactional analysis was real popular back then. And one of the scripts was, almost. You get this 90%. And he goes, you're happy, happy, happy. And then he goes, there's a little bit of piece of poop on the end. and I thought, that's the script I'm in. It's like, I live this really, really great life. And then there's just this little piece of poop on the end. And it's like, you know what? I don't need that. It's all or nothing, right? It's no compromise between the true. It's truth or illusion. And as long as I feel like this heaviness is a part of my personality, which is what I came in here with. And I don't have the depression that I used to have anymore. So I was very, very happy with that. Like, I'm not suicidal anymore. I don't throw things, I don't break things, I don't scream, I don't yell, I don't attack my partners. I don't do any of that anymore. So I was really pretty happy. But there was that little piece of poop on the end that hadn't come to my awareness until this guy broke up with me. And you're right, Karen, when you say he was a great teacher. He is a great teacher to me because I have to see him all the time at my church and at my course meetings. And it's like, I'm not going to indulge that. And it's been really actually quite difficult because, you make this decision of, I'm not indulging that old pattern anymore. And you feel good in a holy instant, and you're reading the course, and then you go about your day, and then there it is again. It's that habitual stuff, the habitual ego thoughts that we have, that we can actually transform those as well. And we all have. But it seems like it's getting to deeper and deeper layers. Like, okay, handled that layer. Okay, all right, then there's another layer. Oh, and then there's another layer. And then there's another layer. And so what's the transformation in me this last week is, oh my gosh, this is possible. I can actually live this joyous, free, expansive life. Whereas before I was just saying, I can live a happy life, and I am happy. And I laugh a lot, and I have good family and good friends, and do lots of things, but not quite all the way, because you know what? I really don't want to be here anyway. And so that's okay, because I don't want to indulge ego form. I don't want anything in form, because that's just the ego. And I've gotten to the place now where it's like, it's not even about form. I know that form doesn't make me happy. This is about my mind knowing that it's free, knowing that I am the total love, joy, and peace of God, not just the 90%. Not just a nice 90%. And you're right, Dove. I asked him to do that. When he broke up with me, that's what I was thinking. It's like, he's only doing what I ask him to do. He's my dream figure, and I'm his dream figure, and it's all the dream. And I knew at the time that it was, yeah. And yet, even knowing that at the time, I forget it. Yeah. And Karen, I would say, yeah, I am perfect, whole, and complete with or without a boyfriend. And I've been saying that for years. And there was still that little piece of poop, like, that little feeling inside of me, like, yeah, I can muscle up and do this and say all that, but I don't really believe it all the way. I believe it 90% of the way, but now it's 100%. So I'm going to turn this back over to you, Dove.
Wow. Wow. We're rising to whole new levels of enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah. Let me kind of go back to where I was talking earlier about, why do you get so upset about someone lying to you? I mean, what does that got to do with you, Dove? I mean, after all, you love saying, I love the truth. I tell the truth. I guess you must think that people who don't tell the truth are not like you. Is that it? Well, no, actually, I went a little deeper than that, and the word belief came up, and you all know how I like that word belief, because it has a lie in it, and this world is this dream, this classroom is really a belief system, and which is not true. I mean, the only reason you come here is you think that you lost something, that you're missing something, and you want to learn what it is, and you want to get back what you already had, and now you don't have it. And exactly as you said, Karen, at the start, we think that we lost something, and that line from the course, chapter 1, section 6, paragraph 2, says a sense of separation from God is the only lack that you really need to correct. So what we're missing is this loss from the love of myself, my one self, the Christ one self. I mean, the word Christ, it seems to be a word that's separate from the word God. It's the same. It's union, it's oneness, it's equality. Nowhere to say the Father ends and the Son begins. So you must have somewhere, Dove, this idea that you believe in loss. And you ask this person in the Philippines to come to you and say, I just lost my three sons in a fire and I want to kill myself. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You didn't lose anything. You have yourself. Oh, really? No. And then it's so easily, the ego is nothing more than an addiction. And as I was listening to you, both Laurie and Sharon, I realized the ego is an addiction. That's, we are all addicted to this thing that says, I'm needy. I want, I need more. You gotta laugh. We're at that time where I want to say, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for a wonderful morning. And Zulma, thank you so much for your blessed patience and love that you were with Karen the entire time.
She's amazing, amazing. Yeah, I just love everybody here. I love everybody, but this is a great group.
That's my
Hi,
friend.
everyone. Hi, Zulma. Thank you.
Thanks,
Karen, I
thank
see
you, Zuma.
healthy.
She's
My
an
friend.
angel. Yeah,
That's my friend.
yeah.
I think my
All
friends
right,
do.
thanks, you guys. I'll go ahead and stop this YouTube and get ready to start up for Zuma.